7 out of 10 people do this. Maybe 6, maybe even 8. And you can decide whether you fall in the first 7 or this doesn't apply to you. Now, it's just my experience, but what I've seen is at the end of the year, people seem to run on fumes. They are tired and they just go through the motions. The greatest thing going on inside of them is hoping and wishing the holidays would come sooner. Now, we can talk about the end of the year now, but the truth is that tiredness, that lack of energy, it starts now already. We go through the motions, we pursue our goals, we try to build that life for the business, but we slowly feel energy draining, we react a little slower, our emotion, motivation drops a little, but we keep going. We keep pushing on, but it just gets a little bit harder. Your motivation drops a little and it feels like you're slowly drifting. It's not as if your goals suddenly changed or you lost your purpose. You still want to go for that. You still want to build a life, or work on a relationship, or build a business, pursue your dream. You still want to fulfill the calling that God has on your life. But what you really wish for, what you really want is stability, a steadfastness in what you do as you pursue it. Now, we just wish that we could be more consistent in that process, consistent in doing what we have to do. But what we really want is stability, a steadfastness in our daily lives. And the reason we want that is because, firstly, we are created in the image of the one who is steadfast in his goodness, steadfast in his abounding love and faithfulness. You see, we are made in his image and we have that longing for that very reason. The second reason we want this is because it's not just about being productive. That steadiness actually is a window into the inner peace that we have, the peace that we carry around. It's that inner peace, and it's a sense of connection. Let's pause for a moment. This might be very useful to you. Most people work on one part of their lives, but something still feels off because nothing is aligned. Spirit, soul, body. If your body is tired, your mind is overwhelmed, and you feel disconnected. Real change happens when all three work together. When you feel physically healthy, your thinking is clearer, and you know where you're going. That's what we focus on. Simple, practical clarity across your whole life. Book that free Zoom call and let's bring things back into alignment. Find and click the link below to book your free Zoom call. So we push on. We just keep on grinding. But the truth is, if we don't address this now, if we don't change something now, we're going to end up at the end of the year running on fumes like I described earlier. So we keep on going. But getting up in the mornings just becomes a little bit harder. Every time we want to get up at the sound of my alarm, the snooze button is just a little bit closer. We find it just increasingly harder to keep our focus and keep it for extended times. Then when that happens, it becomes easier to miss your workout or to just eat junk food instead of cook a proper meal, to just pick easy over what really has meaning to our journey. And then as we just keep going, fatigue seems to just grow in us a little bit at a time. And when fatigue grows, when we get more tired, it becomes harder to make good decisions. In fact, it's easier to make bad decisions. And what happens when we start to compound not so wise decisions, the one after the other, we actually drift. Because we are feeling like we've got less and less energy, we actually drift into survival mode. And I believe we weren't made just to survive, but to thrive. What happens is, in survival mode, we actually become smaller in our thinking. We start focusing on ourselves, and self-focus, consistent self-focus, actually makes it much harder for us to connect with God. And then it's very easy, as these bad choices build up and our energy levels keep on dropping, it's easy for us then to start make wrong assumptions about God and this process. Is He really on it? Has He blessed me for this? Has He called me for this? And that disconnect doesn't actually just manifest in the people around us. It feels like there's a distance between us and God, the one that actually we want to build or pursue this dream for. And then suddenly you wake up and you'll find a disconnect with your purpose, the one thing that you were actually working towards, whether it was building a family or a business or pursuing a dream or a relationship. That disconnect doesn't just come. It actually comes as we drift into survival mode because we just get so tired. And with this disconnection, we will feel like our strength just melts away and powerlessness becomes what we see in the mirror. Nobody wants to stay in this place. So what can we do to not keep on drifting into this powerlessness? Or what can we do to prevent that end of the year slump, hitting the road with your nose? I want to share 4 things that I believe can help you to actually stop drifting and turn this projection of your year. The first one is this. God gives us a promise of His presence. When God speaks to Moses in Exodus 33, God says, "My presence will go with you." When Jesus, just before He leaves His disciples to return to His Father, has His final words with them, His disciples, with you and me, He promises them this. He says, "And I will be with you to the very end." How beautiful is that? In Hebrews 13, verse 5, the Holy Spirit promises us that He says, "And I will never leave you nor forsake you." See, if we want to change this drift or stop the drift and end up ending the year in a better place, we have to start by believing that God's presence will be with us. It's not a carrot that he hangs in front of us so that we can get, if we keep on pushing hard enough or we do the right things. No, it's a promise that he gives us, in a sense, irregardless of you and me. It's a promise based on his nature. And what is the promise? I'll be with you. My presence is with you. He's the one who will hold us up. He's the one who will empower us. We have to start by trusting his nature to stop this deflating of our energy. The second truth that I want to share with you is maybe very simple, but it's very true. Rest. You see, rest is God's way for us. He always wants us to work from a place of rest and never leave that rest that he has given us. In Isaiah 40 verse 31, it says, those who wait on the Lord, he will renew their strength. You see, as we rest in him, as we wait for him, as we trust in his nature, God does something to revive us, to get us out of this drift. Make it a priority to rest well. Rest doesn't look like binging your favorite series. It looks like sleeping. It looks like getting outside. It looks like reading. It looks like listening to good music, to worshiping. That's the kind of rest that rejuvenates us, that energizes us again. The third truth is simple, purposeful routines. They have to be easy to keep. They have to be almost baby steps, but just intentional actions that you can do consistently. And as you build the muscle memory, if you will, of those good habits, those good routines, you will see how it actually creates a strength in you to keep going. The last one, the fourth truth that I want to share with you is joy. The Bible says that the joy of the Lord is our strength. When we start drifting into this seriousness, into this powerlessness, we sometimes forget to laugh. Now, God says that it's his joy that is our strength. In other words, even if you don't feel joyful, you can actually turn to joy. You can choose to smile, choose to laugh, choose to maybe watch a funny video or phone a friend and just have a light-hearted conversation. In those moments, the joy of God actually starts to build strength in us. If we implement these truths, and there are many others, many other gifts from God that we can work on to help us fight this fatigue and help us stop drifting into a place where we only survive instead of living that abundant life that he promises us. And what will happen when we do this is that, let me say this, it's not a switch that gets flipped. It's a progressive increase. But I believe the first thing that happens if we focus on these truths in our lives is, firstly, your peace will return. That inner peace. You might still feel tired. You might still battle a little bit to go through the things that you normally wouldn't have a problem with. But inside, a peace of God will rise up. And that peace will help us. It'll make us connect with God much easier. It'll position us in that place where not only can we connect with him in an easier way, but actually with our purpose, with our calling again. Another wonderful result that you'll notice is that being tired or tiredness will just be something that you go through. It won't be your state of being. You were not created to live tired all the time. We get tired when we work towards our goals. But suddenly you'll realize that that's not who you are. That's not your state. That's just something that you go through. And then the last one I want to mention now is you will start moving towards your purpose again in a fresh way. Being tired and weakness, that's not your portion. That's not what God has in mind for you. Even though we might feel weak or even see ourselves as weak, we know that that's not a problem for God, because in our weakness, He shows His strength. He calls us to live in that place of strength, of dependence on Him. And He promised that He will always be with us, regardless of where we find ourselves. Now, in my book, Stronger in the Lord, I have many other tools that you can use to build strength in your life, to prevent the drift and to make sure that you don't end at the end of the year feeling totally flat. And a few weeks ago, we did a video on waiting on God. I think if you watch that, it's also going to help you with this process of not drifting in the wrong direction. And remember, if this was helpful, please share it with a friend. Like, subscribe, you know what to do.